For over a decade, signing with an agency was my main goal. Not for status, not for ego, but in the commercial and narrative world, representation matters. Here, let's get into it. For a long time, the assumption was simple. If you make great work, eventually someone will call. But that's not quite how it works. There are a lot more creatives than there are agents. So eventually, it's about putting in the work. For years, it was heads down, shoot, refine, repeat. Eventually, someone will call. And in the back of my mind, if your work is undeniable, someone will notice. But here's the deal. They're not just sitting around scrolling through videos and saying, ooh, this is the one, let's go. After all, this is a business, a contract between them and me. First, some coffee. Messenger, light roast. Here's the deal. When the reel finally felt ready, that's when I wanted to start reaching out. But I kind of thought my reel was ready years ago. And I'm very glad I did not make the contacts and connections just quite yet. It wasn't until as of late that my reel was finally ready and my connections were there and starting to put one foot in front of the other. From a producer who knew some representation over at a high-up agency, he put me in contact with some people and I was like, okay, great. I mean, it's very hard to get a hold of agents. What is the likelihood that I'll be able to get a foot in the door without someone who's already has a contact? So I was really thinking this could be it. This could be the right opportunity. So I shared my work. Emails were exchanged and they had a chance to take a look. And then I got that email back that I'm not the right fit at this time. So what do? Do you give up, not reach out to anyone again, or do you sit tight and assess? Well, I looked at some things, adjusted a few things, and made my website even more simple. I'm very proud of most, if not all, the stuff I've shot, despite you can clearly see my growth patterns. Every shoot is an opportunity to try, and I enjoy it, and I love every shoot. So it's hard to only show so much on the website. But I cleaned it up, and then I started to target. If this company says no, what kind of agents would say yes? And I found one. I found a company, Radiant Artists, found them, reached out, and to my surprise, they loved my work. And I was really impressed by their portfolio of cinematographers already. They have cinematographers and production designers. They seemed like a little bit more of a boutique agency, which kind of felt like the right fit for me. So I was very, very hopeful. Emails were going well, loving the work, but I didn't really have any connections with them. So I thought, but there was a shoot that I had coming up in Los Angeles in a studio, actually with Michaela Schriffen, the lady who just won gold in downhill skiing. We were shooting some of her partnerships with P&G in a studio. Yeah, it was just a really cool opportunity. I got to hold the gold medal too. But regardless, I was there for a shoot and said, hey, I'm in town. Could we grab some coffee? And that's where things got interesting. It's good. Well, that meeting went well. So well that after leaving there, a couple more emails, it was time to sign some paperwork and get my first ever agent. Something that I dreamed of since school, something I couldn't be more proud to be with Radiant Artists. But there's more to the story. Here, let's get into it. It was there in this meeting where I discovered that the agency represented the cinematographer for the very first project that I ever worked on in this film industry. It was a project called Fallout Nuka Break for season 2. It's a fan-funded Fallout video game inspired episodic show. And at the time we were shooting on a red dragon of some sort, or Mysterium, red epic maybe. This was early Red when they were known for having artifacts or maybe lines in footage. So the cinematographer was like, hey, I just need you to scroll through all this footage. Dump it onto hard drives and scroll through every footage so that we don't have any crazy vertical lines and whatnot. Well, the job was passed on to me from a friend who got double booked on something else. So that was my first way in. With my MacBook Pro 2012, 2013. I don't even remember the year this MacBook came out, but let's just say that it wasn't very fast. I was up long nights. Footage was dumping overnight. And I was waking up and peeking in on it, making sure that the cards were dumped. Imagine if the cards aren't dumped, that they don't have cards ready to go for the next day. And We were shooting in like a popular couple hours out of LA desert filming ground where Terminator was shot and a few of the really big like Mission Impossible, Terminator, they've had scenes that have taken place at this location. So that felt historic and that felt kind of cool. But the real unique thing is that, shout out Matt Ryan, the cinematographer of that project, was repped by Radiant Artists. We didn't set up anything to make those connections then, but it was in that meeting did we discover that, oh yes, this was a cinematographer that I worked underneath for the very first job, and since then have kept in contact with and reached out for advice as a younger cinematographer saying, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, what do you think about that? He has since moved on to another agency, but after being there for 10 years, they have a warm spot for him, and it was a great connection. You never know where this industry will take you. You never know who you'll meet on set, where they'll end up being, and how those paths can cross. And I think some of those little connections help build and help make you more approachable and or reliable to these agents. And signing on with Radiant has since then been kind of a dream. It's dealing with a lot of the things that I don't like to deal with. I hate negotiating. They negotiate on your behalf. I don't care about money. They deal with all that. They go through and find details and pull out information for your productions that really help align and get things dialed in, from locations, time, housing, all the little details, kind of just get that all squared away. So that's one less thing I have to think about, and more time I can think about being creative. I didn't know what it looked like to have an agent. And this is only kind of approaching year one. So it's still very new, and I have zero plans to change. This is something that I dreamed about, and acquiring an agent has just been like a really big goal. And when it's time for an agent, here's a few things to consider. If you're considering getting an agent, here's a few things I think you need to do before you start reaching out. Mainly the website. Update that reel. Have only your best and most important projects on there, and keep it shorter. Agents don't all have the crazy amount of time to be able to look through everything. They want to be able to at least see in the first 5 to 20 seconds of what you're able to do, capable of, and see some of your taste. And if they have the time, they might sit and watch the whole thing. I learned this tip from watching and listening to an episode of the Warner DB podcast where he featured 2 agents talking about how to make their websites and their reels more approachable. Secondly, the site. I know you have a soft spot for all of your favorite projects, but maybe there's too many for them to sort through. Really shorten it up, use only your top few favorites, and push them to the top. A clean, easy to use website is better for the viewer experience, not just your portfolio. That doesn't mean you have to delete the stuff. That just means put it on a separate page, unlisted, hidden, and so it doesn't see the light of day again. No, but in reality, if you don't want to be shooting pet commercials anymore, then don't be featuring pet commercials all over your website. It's time to start focusing on the things you want to be doing and putting that towards the top so whoever sees it can understand what you do, especially are wanting to do. All right, back to it. For me, this process took over a decade. Getting signed by an agent wasn't just the hopes and dreams of just being signed, it was this partnership. It was this kind of validation of, am I good enough? That question goes through your head all the time as us cinematographers. You know, I'm really proud of this work, and other people loved it, and the client loved it, but am I good enough? This was kind of a form of validation, but at the same time, this really is my biggest weight lifted off. It's the handling the paperwork, sending the invoices, going out for bids for me, and the amount of bids I'm being proposed on has doubled since signing with an agent. However, a reminder from the agent is that you, the cinematographer, are still the best networker for yourself. Just because you sign doesn't mean you can sit back, relax, and let them just pitch you. You still need to be out, reaching out, connecting, networking, and the works. For me, I never wanted to be a production company. I wanted to follow the traditional career path of a cinematographer. Now, the word traditional is quickly changing, and I think in this time of day, with the amount of work being put out, the agents have no chance to keep up with the amount of great work. Maybe about time when you start reaching out to them saying, hey, I'm out here, kind of thing. Shout out Wandering DP Podcast. If you're not following his YouTube channel, go over there now. But of course, sign up for his Patreon and go do all that stuff. Without his podcast back in the day, I've been listening since like 2014, 2015. A lot of things have changed. My style of lighting, the way I can communicate on set, learning about how to approach an agent, and just overall confidence in my own styling, knowing that the way he talks about stuff is very similar to the way I talk about stuff. And his on-set experiences are very similar to my on-set experiences. So it's a form of validation slash just like, oh, camaraderie. Well, with it still being under a year of signing, I can't give you too many updates, but in reality, that initial conversation from, yes, I love your work, let's talk, to where we are today has just still got me, glowing. This has been a dream for me, and I'm just super pumped to have representation and continue to work as a cinematographer. And if you want to see more of my work, you can check out stevenscgreatest.com. Thanks for watching. Peace. Too tight. It's too tight. Here we go. Trying to grow this YouTube channel so I can keep sharing my experiences. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks, peace.